Hello viewers, welcome to the facts of the CCP's tyrannical persecution of Christians. I'm Link. Since coming to power, the CCP has launched countless political movements to slander, distort and discredit religious belief. It has demonised faith, inciting all of society to be hostile toward religion. Successive party leaders have issued a series of repressive policies to eliminate religious belief, subjecting it to brutal persecution and suppression. Over 70 years of CCP rule has caused immense devastation to the thoughts, morals, and beliefs of the Chinese people. This has not only brought disaster upon Christians, but has also subjected generations of Chinese citizens to devastating calamities. Today, we'll continue to expose and trace the brutal policies and methods the CCP uses to suppress and persecute religious belief, and to further dissect for you its reactionary, anti-human and wicked essence. 3. Promoting the Sinicization of religion to subvert and eliminate all religions, making them subject to the party and aligned with Xi Jinping's ideology. In 2015, Xi Jinping proposed the Sinicization of religion policy, imposing politicised, party-dominated management on religion, to ensure its absolute obedience to the party's leadership and control. In early 2018, the CCP Central Committee issued the Plan for Deepening the Reform of Party and State Agencies, merging the State Administration for Religious Affairs into the Central Committee United Front Work Department. From then on, the department responsible for religious affairs was separated from the State Council and placed directly under the CCP Central Committee United Front Work Department. This politicised the management of religion and placed it under direct party leadership. In February 2018, the CCP implemented the revised regulations on religious affairs. The revisions expanded the number of articles from 48 to 77 and placed greater emphasis on the comprehensive supervision of religious doctrines, sermon content and ideology. The regulations intensify the thought reform and loyalty control imposed on believers, place religious groups in a stranglehold reaching down to the last detail, and grant local governments immense power to control religion and to arrest and persecute religious believers. In addition, the regulations also assigned a series of so-called new functions to religious groups, requiring them to implement CCP policies, laws and regulations, and to carry out CCP-promoted work such as religious ideological construction. This has turned religious organisations and venues into new bases for the CCP's ideological and legal education, replacing genuine religious activities with activities like studying core socialist values. It has made the party the object of religious faith and turned religious doctrine into communist ideology, with the end goal of completely eliminating religious belief from people's thoughts and ideologies. Furthermore, the regulations stipulate that religious venues must obtain government approval and register as legal entities before they can be used. However, many planned or under construction religious venues that met requirements before the regulations were issued have had their applications shelved by the Religious Affairs Bureau. This means many new venues cannot be opened and have fallen into disuse. As for existing religious venues, the regulations require them to be incorporated into land use and urban-rural master plans. As a result, many existing churches have been designated as illegal structures by the CCP for not complying with planning regulations and demolished. The CCP's approval and registration process for religious venues is not only extremely harsh, but also exists in name only. During the process, they create obstacles at every level, deliberately create difficulties, and delay and shelve applications indefinitely. They simply refuse to implement the process, fully exposing the CCP's thuggish, lawless nature. New venues are never approved, while old ones keep being demolished. The CCP's goal is to eliminate religious venues in this way, making it impossible for religious activities to be carried out normally. and gradually eradicating religious groups. It is noteworthy that although the regulations ostensibly allow religious groups to register, the terms are extremely harsh, making it impossible for groups such as house churches to register. What's more, submitting an application to the government carries the risk of arrest. The CCP uses registration as a pretense to lure house churches into a trap. If a house church fails to apply for registration, it is deemed illegal by the CCP, targeted for elimination and subjected to lawful and legitimate suppression and persecution. Since the Sinicization of religion policy was launched, a vast number of religious venues across China, including Protestant, Catholic, Buddhist, and Taoist sites, and even some officially recognised Three Self churches, have been shut down, banned, or demolished. Some churches have even been dynamited by the authorities. According to international media such as the New York Times Chinese edition, on January 9, 2018, under the pretext of demolishing illegal structures, the CCP police used heavy machinery and explosives to raze Shanshi's Golden Lampstand Church, one of the largest evangelical churches in China. This church, with a congregation of over 50,000 Christians, was built with nearly $3 million USD donated by believers and was a local landmark. In addition to demolishing numerous religious venues like churches, the CCP has also launched a high-profile nationwide campaign to remove crosses, making every effort to eliminate religious symbols. Countless church crosses have been dismantled. According to VOA Chinese, in Henan province alone, the crosses of 7,000 churches were forcibly removed in 2018. At the same time, the CCP is carrying out a Sinicization overhaul of existing religious venues, activities, and biblical doctrines, in a vain bid to wipe out all religion. In Three Self and Catholic churches, the Ten Commandments on the walls have been replaced with quotes from Xi Jinping, and portraits of Jesus and the Virgin Mary have been substituted with those of Mao Zedong and Xi Jinping. Pastors, priests, and other clergy are required to integrate core socialist values, the Analects of Confucius,
and the standards for being a good student and child into biblical scriptures in their sermons,
conflating Chinese Confucian thought and party culture with the words of the Bible. The CCP has even brazenly deleted and altered biblical passages. According to a 2018 report by the Italian human rights magazine Bitter Winter, the Ten Commandments on the wall of a Three Self church in Liaoning County, Henan, were reduced to 9. The first one, I am Jehovah your God, you shall have no other gods before me, was forcibly erased. At the time, the church leader and believers strongly objected, saying, "This is unacceptable. You're tampering with God's words. You're resisting the Lord." An official from the Central Religious Inspection Team snapped back. Xi Jinping opposes this commandment. Who dare not cooperate? Whoever disagrees is opposing the state. He also warned the believers, this is national policy. Understand the situation and don't stand against the state. Similar incidents occurred in many places, including Xinjiang and Yanshe in Henan. Furthermore, the Religious Affairs Bureau also ordered the removal of the first 4 most important commandments. First, I am Jehovah your God. You shall have no other gods before me. Second, you shall not make to you any graven image. You shall not bow down yourself to them, nor serve them. Third, you shall not take the name of Jehovah your God in vain. Fourth, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Simultaneously, under the cloak of Confucian thought, the CCP is gradually replacing biblical doctrine, vainly seeking to ultimately abolish and erase the Bible's place in people's hearts, and to coerce believers into transferring their loyalty from God to the party and the state. The goal is to control people and remold their minds using party culture, progressively transforming all religious believers into atheists. The CCP has also tampered with the biblical stories of Jesus, openly slandering and blaspheming him, and has incorporated these altered versions into a mandatory textbook for secondary vocational schools, professional ethics, and law. Even more bizarrely, in addition to being required to sing red songs, raise the national flag, and study Communist Party policies, believers at various religious venues have also been observed performing absurd acts, such as offering incense, fruit, and flowers, and performing 3 bows or the full kowtow ritual to portraits of Xi Jinping and Mao Zedong. This series of events reveals the truth of the Sinicization of religion. The so-called Sinicization of religion is, in reality, the CCPification and Xi Jinpingization of religion. For years, Xi Jinping, under the guise of regulating religious activities and preventing illegal religion, has engaged in a series of absurd acts. His ultimate objective is to topple and ban all faith, establishing himself as the sole authority, inside and outside the party, and compelling everyone to submit to him, worship him, and believe in him and revere him as a god. These actions by the CCP can be described as a second cultural revolution, another devastating catastrophe for the Chinese nation and its people. 4. Building the world's largest video surveillance network and mobilising national resources to monitor the population. After the trial run of the Golden Shield project, the CCP, while patting itself on the back for its brilliant decision to use high technology to secure its rule, also discovered that the project's capacity for 24/7 monitoring of the entire population was limited. It fell far short of achieving comprehensive surveillance without any blind spots. To more forcibly maintain the stability of its totalitarian rule and eliminate dissidents, the CCP authorities began constructing the world's largest video surveillance system, the Skynet project. To this end, CCP-controlled enterprises such as Hangzhou Hikvision, Zhejiang Dahua Technology, Huawei Technologies, and Hong Kong SenseTime Group were commissioned by the authorities to participate in its development. Hikvision and Dahua primarily supplied the hardware. Huawei was mainly responsible for network infrastructure, cloud computing, and building storage platforms, while SenseTime provided core AI algorithms and software technologies for facial recognition and video analysis. According to data from the industry research firm IHS Markit, China had installed 66.5 million surveillance cameras by 2016. By October 2017, the CCP had built the world's largest and most pervasive video surveillance network. The Skynet project covers major streets, entertainment venues, large shopping malls, hospitals, parks, and other public spaces in China's major cities, as well as key areas like important institutions, schools, and residential communities. Masses of high-definition cameras have been installed nearly everywhere Chinese citizens go, forcing over 1 billion people to live their lives under constant, real-time surveillance. Using AI technologies like facial recognition, license plate recognition, and behaviour analysis, combined with satellite navigation and positioning technology, the system enables real-time monitoring and tracking of people and vehicles. It can quickly identify individuals and automatically trigger an alarm when a person of interest appears. In terms of coverage, monitoring capability, and efficiency, this project has greatly remedied the shortcomings of the Golden Shield project, realising the CCP's goal of casting a dragnet over major cities for 24-hour surveillance of the entire population. In its propaganda film Amazing China, the CCP showcased the Skynet system's rapid facial recognition abilities, able to screen the entire national population in just 1 second. The moment a target passes a camera, the system automatically cross-references it with its database. The target can be located and arrested in as little as 7 minutes. During the construction of the Skynet project, to tighten its grip on religious venues, the CCP also put the development of a video surveillance system for the religious domain, one of the Skynet project's supporting components, on its agenda. In 2015, the State Administration for Religious Affairs issued the Notice on the Construction and Networked Application of Public Security Video Surveillance in Religious Areas. This notice required all religious affairs bureaus to integrate their surveillance systems for religious areas into local Skynet plans. They were also instructed to work with public security departments to formulate specific implementation plans to ultimately achieve 100% video surveillance coverage of all religious venues. The CCP has thus known about every movement within all religious venues nationwide, including the facial biometrics, behaviour, and speech of every believer. Furthermore, the CCP has expanded its surveillance on this basis. Surveillance devices have been installed in and around the homes of individuals known for their faith and those who have been previously arrested and later released. At the same time, the CCP has arranged for citizens, Red Armband, and other informants to monitor and report on them 24/7. To prevent local governments from becoming lax or being perfunctory in implementing the CCP's policies of persecuting religious belief, the CCP Central Committee has issued arrest quotas, linking them to performance reviews, salaries, and other benefits of local officials. Coerced by these administrative orders, local government officials, in order to meet the quotas set by the CCP Central Committee, adopt the approach of better to arrest the wrong person than to miss the right one, better to make a false report than to omit anything, and better to kill 1,000 by mistake than to let one escape. This has led to all Christians living in danger of being arrested at any time. Especially for those released from prison, the CCP has installed numerous additional HD cameras around their homes for targeted surveillance, and assigned dedicated personnel to watch them closely. These individuals are also required to keep their mobile phones on 24/7, be on call at all times, report to the police station regularly, and are forbidden from leaving their local area. Whenever the CCP launches a new round of coordinated arrests, they're arrested again, forced to sign the 3 statements, subjected to torture, and sentenced to prison. Some even die from the persecution. Core church members remain under permanent CCP surveillance by dedicated personnel, even after their release from prison. They are under house arrest during the day, forbidden from any casual contact with the outside world, and are subjected to 24-hour surveillance by both Skynet and these additional CCP-installed HD cameras. At night, they are escorted to a hotel by CCP police, where they are kept under residential surveillance. This surveillance continues year-round and does not end upon their release from prison. Although they have walked out of the prison walls, they can never escape the vast cage of the CCP's tyranny and are held firmly in its demonic grip. They have effectively been sentenced by the CCP to life imprisonment, confined for life without freedom. Aided by the vast Skynet surveillance network, the CCP's suppression and persecution of Christians has grown even more severe. Data shows that over 1 million Christians were persecuted in 2018. 4.5 times the number recorded in 2017, a surge of over 700,000 people. Among them, over 10,000 church leaders were persecuted, 5 times the number from 2017. Moreover, human rights lawyers, dissidents, Tibetans, Uyghurs, Muslims, and other groups in China have also faced unprecedented arrests and persecution as a result of Skynet surveillance. In this process, the Skynet project has played a crucial and indispensable role. According to CCP documentary Amazing China, approximately 200 billion RMB was invested in the Skynet system. Given its vast resources, extensive coverage, advanced technology, and the tight control it imposes over public freedom, the Skynet project, built by the CCP with huge effort and at immense public cost, stands as the world's largest and most unique tool for maintaining social control. To date, no other regime has spent such enormous sums or mobilised such massive resources to control the movements and freedom of its people. The CCP's violation of human rights, infringements of freedom, and its persecution of religious belief have reached a fever pitch, shocking and outraging the world. 5. The Sharp Eyes Project invades every home, leaving citizens with no place to hide. The CCP exhibits brutal, iron-fisted methods of governance, unmatched anywhere in the world in its efforts to maintain totalitarian rule, violate human rights, infringe freedom, and persecute religious belief. By using high-tech surveillance systems like the Golden Shield and Skynet projects, it has achieved some magnificent results, scaling new heights in crimes against humanity and becoming a veritable champion in this domain. In just over 70 years, the CCP has made outstanding contributions to create a miracle in human history. It is truly an amazing party. Despite this, the CCP remained unsatisfied. Adhering to its consistent motto of serving the people, its next step was to continue serving the vast rural population by advancing the great cause of national surveillance to full completion. Following this plan, it established unified surveillance command centres at county, township and village levels. By building a grassroots surveillance network and leveraging the sharp eyes of the masses, it aimed to achieve comprehensive monitoring of the rural population, especially those deemed key targets by the CCP. This project was thus named the Sharp Eyes Project. The project's goal is to achieve full regional coverage, full network sharing, full-time availability, and full process control. As an extension and supplement to the Skynet project's video surveillance capabilities, the Sharp Eyes project further expands the scope of social participation and data sharing. In some areas, people's mobile phones, smart TVs, and set-top boxes have also been integrated into the Sharp Eyes surveillance system. According to Guangdong Abel Technology, a supplier for the Sharp Eyes project, their system can achieve the goal of watching everyone, monitoring everywhere, and mounting responses at any time. The Los Angeles Times reported that when a resident of Anshi village in Sichuan province set a match to a small pile of garbage in the gutter, a loudspeaker blared out his name and address and ordered him to extinguish the blaze immediately. He jumped with fright, quickly put out the flames and scurried away. It is clear that nothing the public does or says can escape the real-time surveillance of the Sharp Eyes project, let alone the real-time supervision of the CCP government. Furthermore, according to a 2018 report by Radio Free Asia, a WeChat user lamented, "It's terrifying. Ostensibly, the system can be used to monitor whether your home is being broken into, but in reality, the police can use it to monitor every move your family members make inside, truly achieving full coverage. The authorities can track people's whereabouts at any time via their cell phones. Carrying a cell phone is like carrying a mobile surveillance device. They are enjoying ubiquitous government monitoring, following them like a shadow. Countless eyes have been brought directly into people's homes. Outings, gatherings, and even casual chats between neighbours are subject to uninterrupted 24-hour surveillance. Whether cooking, sleeping, watching TV, or browsing the internet, every detail of a person's private life can be identified, recorded, and tracked by the system. Every family and every individual is held firmly under the gaze of these sharp eyes, fully achieving the CCP's goal. Everyone can be an informant, and everyone is monitored by the government at all times. Hundreds of millions of Chinese farmers at the county, township, and village levels are now fortunate enough to enjoy such advanced and thoughtful services. In addition to thanking CCP-favoured enterprises like Hangzhou Hikvision, Zhejiang Dahua Technology, Huawei Technologies, and Hong Kong SenseTime, They must also give special thanks to Abel and the three major telecom operators, China Mobile, China Unicom, and China Telecom, for jointly providing the relevant technology and services. These have helped the CCP achieve 24/7, no blind spot real-time surveillance of the public, leading to a further deterioration of the human rights situation in China. A growing number of Christians, other religious believers, and dissidents are being arrested and persecuted by the CCP. In a sense, the actions of these tech companies amount to aiding and abetting a tyrant. Just like the CCP, they have committed serious crimes against human rights. After the official launch of the Sharp Eyes project, grid administrators, volunteers, and community police became the core grassroots public security force. Their primary task is to monitor and manage special populations and key groups. Using high-tech methods, grid administrators utilise mobile apps and surveillance systems to track and verify the identities, addresses, and movements of targeted individuals, keeping a constant watch on their activities and ensuring that the Sharp Eyes project achieves full coverage and control. Through the Sharp Eyes project, authorities also stream public surveillance footage directly to villagers' smart TVs, mobile phones, or set-top boxes, and even to large LED screens in village committee offices. Every villager can view the surveillance footage of public areas in their village at any time. If they spot anything suspicious, they can use a one-click alarm to instantly transmit the surveillance information to the Public Security Department, fully demonstrating the absolute advantage of public participation in surveillance. Chinese farmers who have long worked the land never imagined that as low-end people in the eyes of the CCP, they would now enjoy HD live streaming services personally provided by the CCP government, and even be able to exercise the privilege of one-click alarms. The Sharp Eyes project has brought the benefits of modern technology and the superiority of socialism with Chinese characteristics to long-suffering Chinese farmers. However, they never expected that while enjoying this special treatment, they would be used by the CCP, sacrificed on the altar of maintaining its rule, and reduced to tools and accomplices in the CCP's persecution of faith and violation of human rights. They certainly never imagined that they, like the companies providing video surveillance technology to the CCP, would end up committing crimes against human rights and humanity. 6. Tightening control over the entire nation by any means necessary. After the Sharp Eyes project and the Skynet project were deployed, the CCP continued to increase its investment and manpower into these projects, upgrading both projects annually to make their surveillance capabilities ever more powerful. They have made great contributions to the CCP's arrest of Christians and dissidents. According to a 2018 report by Bitter Winter, an internal CCP document titled Compilation of Typical Cases from Special Operations detailed the authorities' investments in surveillance systems to monitor believers. In Hunan province, the authorities in a single county, Shun County, invested nearly 900,000 RMB to purchase and install cameras, covering 53 religious venues in the county, including 3 self-churches, Catholic churches, Taoist temples, Buddhist temples, and mosques. Cameras have been installed in churches across China. Some churches have 6 to 8 cameras installed, both inside and out, allowing the content of sermons and the activities of attendees to be fully monitored. The slightest violation of regulations results in punishment. Under such terrifying surveillance, it is nearly impossible for believers to gather normally. According to an article by the network privacy and security firm Comparitech, China has approximately 700 million surveillance cameras, which together form the so-called Skynet system. Furthermore, according to an article published by the Association for the Defense of Human Rights and Religious Freedom, The CCP uses HD cameras to monitor and track Christians from the Church of Almighty God. In 2019 alone, Shandong province launched at least 13 coordinated mass arrest operations, arresting 645 Christians. Many of them have been tracked and monitored for several months to a year before their arrest. In addition to large-scale surveillance systems like Skynet and Sharp Eyes, the CCP employs various other monitoring technologies to keep a seamless and close watch over the daily lives of its citizens. It continuously upgrades existing systems, leveraging the latest technological trends and advanced techniques to suppress and persecute religious groups, dissidents, and rights activists, as it always has. For instance, it conducts surveillance through social media platforms like WeChat, Tencent QQ, Xiaohongshu, Douyin, and Kuaishou, as well as methods like voice print recognition. At the same time, it uses technologies such as smart access control systems, smart home appliances, drone tracking, and electric vehicle trackers to track and precisely locate every move its targets make. The CCP even monitors electricity and water meter data. In short, the CCP will exploit any high-tech means that can maintain the stability of its rule, whether domestic or foreign, right down to the smallest computer chip. To preserve its totalitarian rule, the CCP resorts to every conceivable method, showing no regard for its great power image or international reputation. Despite the CCP's notorious record of crimes against humanity and continuous condemnation from international human rights organisations, religious groups, and dissidents, and even though the US State Department's annual International Religious Freedom Report has listed China as one of the world's worst violators of religious freedom for 24 consecutive years, the CCP shows no intention of ceasing its persecution of faith and violation of human rights. On the contrary, it has intensified its efforts, growing increasingly arrogant, behaving as if it were the sole ruler of heaven and earth, poised to dominate all humanity and establish global hegemony. 7. Trapped in China's demonic lair, Christians persist in their faith without compromise. From nationwide large-scale video surveillance systems to smart appliances infiltrating every home and personal mobile phone tracking, the CCP's surveillance is omnipresent and all-pervasive. China has now established a comprehensive, all-encompassing surveillance network. This network acts as an invisible digital cage, trapping its citizens with little chance of escape. Under such a tight surveillance network, all levels of the CCP government continue to issue various classified documents and directives to suppress and persecute religious belief, launching round after round of sweeps, arrests, and other repressive actions against religious groups, such as the Church of Almighty God. Examples include the notice from the General Office of the Henan Provincial Party Committee on forwarding the 2017 work points of the Provincial Party Committee's leading group for preventing and handling issues. The 2018 notice on the implementation plan for the County Public Security Bureau's special operation to investigate and crack down on the Almighty God organisation. The 2020 overall battle implementation plan for cracking down on Almighty God in the entire city, from the Chongqing Municipal Political and Legal Affairs Commission, the 2021 notice on launching a major investigation and rectification campaign on religious issues throughout the town. From Wulong Town, Huozhou County,
Luan City,
and Huai, and the implementation plan for the special action to investigate the information of Almighty God, from Jiangxi Province among others. Notably, in August 2023, to achieve the complete eradication and elimination of the Church of Almighty God, the CCP Central Political and Legal Affairs Commission issued a document titled Overall Work Plan for further deepening the crackdown on the Almighty God organisation. This document called for a new 3-year offensive starting in 2024. In addition to emphasising the destruction of the domestic organisational system, it also required the Ministry of State Security and the Ministry of Public Security to crack down on and disintegrate the Church of Almighty God overseas. Trapped in the demonic lair of the CCP's totalitarian rule, a large number of Christians from the Church of Almighty God have been arrested and subjected to brutal torture, with some being disabled or killed.
According to the annual reports on the CCP government's persecution of the Church of Almighty God from 2017 to 2024,
based on incomplete statistics, 175,544 individuals were directly persecuted from 2017 to 2022 alone. From 2017 to 2024, 80,795 people were arrested. 35,131 were subjected to torture or violent brainwashing. 10,743 were sentenced, and 187 died from persecution. From 2017 to 2022, at least 1.482 billion RMB worth of assets, equivalent to approximately 208 million USD, were illegally seized. The data on the CCP's persecution of the Church of Almighty God in recent years shows a year-on-year escalation in intensity. This has been particularly true since Xi Jinping came to power, with the CCP even adopting the wicked slogan, "The forces shall only withdraw once the eradication is complete." According to sources, the number of arrests in 2024 was 6.5 times that of 2017, while both the total number of people sentenced and the number sentenced to 7 years or more
were 13 times the figures from 2017.
Since the establishment of the Church of Almighty God, at least 307 Christians have been killed as a result of persecution. Furthermore, any major Chinese festival or special anniversary, such as New Year's Day, the Spring Festival, and National Day, sensitive political dates like the CCP's 2 sessions, military parades, party congresses, and June 4th, or even special occasions like the memorial services or travels of CCP leaders, are all treated by the CCP as auspicious days on which to flex its muscle. On these days, CCP law enforcement agencies at all levels issue secret orders and carry out nationwide coordinated mass arrest campaigns. Consequently, these dates have become days of flight and days of suffering for Christians. Year after year, Christians have struggled to survive in this terrifying high-pressure environment. The CCP's arrests of Christians are unrelenting and continue all through the year with no respite. There are mass arrests on special days and small-scale arrests on ordinary days. Arrests are made whenever the orders come, and continue even without them. There are arrests every day, every month, and every year, a practice that has continued for decades. The CCP police constantly stand in readiness to crack down on religious belief, ready to be dispatched at a moment's notice, to carry out immediate arrests. Since coming to power, the CCP's suppression and persecution of religious belief have never ceased. In over 70 years of rule, the CCP has plunged China into turmoil, moral decay, and all-pervasive fear. Christians live year-round in darkness and terror, leading an inhuman existence. Many even believe that living in China is worse than living as a cat or a dog in a foreign country. Despite the CCP casting its dragnet across the land, the faith of many Christians in house churches to follow God to the very end has not wavered. To be able to gather, they must evade the CCP's surveillance and tracking. They have learned to engage in guerrilla warfare to contend with the CCP. Their choice of gathering places has become as varied as it is creative. Mountains, forests, wastelands, orchards, cowsheds, pigsties, sheepfolds, croplands, caves, under bridges, warehouses, cellars, abandoned factories, houses slated for demolition, and even remote cemeteries. In such harsh environments, in order to gather and carry out church work, Christians have mastered counter-surveillance skills, like disguising themselves, shaking off tails, identifying tracking and listening devices, and learning how to communicate in code. Even the CCP has offered high praise for this set of skills. In this high-pressure environment, Christians are in a constant state of extreme tension. They sleep fully clothed year-round, frequently have nightmares of being pursued by police, and often wake up from them in a panic. Wherever they go, they feel they are being watched by informants. They are highly sensitive to and fearful of police uniforms, sirens, and patrol cars, and are extremely wary and afraid of any strangers. Even in their own homes, they must maintain a high level of alertness, having completely lost any sense of security. How many Christians have been unable to return home, spending all their lives wandering and displaced? How many Christian families and loved ones are torn apart? Even so, they still face the constant threat of arrest, torture, or even death at the CCP's hands. This is merely a snapshot of the lives of tens of millions of Christians under the CCP's tyranny. It is what Christians have endured in the past and are enduring now. In the future, they will still face the CCP's tyranny and continue to live in such a bleak social environment. Their bodies and souls are subjected to the CCP's inhuman torment. They endure unimaginable pain and suffering and bear discrimination, humiliation, abuse and attacks from their families and society. They even face death at the CCP's hands. Perhaps one day they'll lose their lives to the CCP's persecution. Perhaps they'll not live to see the day the CCP collapses. Perhaps they'll not live to see the day God publicly appears to all nations and peoples. But they have no regrets. They still hold fast to their faith and persist in propagating God's gospel, using their youth, their blood, their tears, and their very lives to bear witness to the power of God's words and the power of His work. Darkness cannot obscure the light, and brutality cannot destroy faith. Next time, we'll continue to expose the CCP's criminal history of persecuting Christians and trace the blood and tear-soaked histories of Christians who have suffered persecution. That's all for today's program. Thank you for watching this episode. Stay tuned to the New Age and stay tuned to the facts of the CCP's tyrannical persecution of Christians. See you next time.